All right. So I'm going to do this on Facebook first. Then I'm going to download the video and I'm going to put it to YouTube because I am constantly, I'm sure like we all face this. Like every one of us who's been trying to do democratic reform, we all face this. We are constantly getting attacked by these Dem exiters, duopoly enthusiasts who really have no understanding of how the party works. And so they think that everybody who's volunteering for the Democratic Party somehow believes the same thing, right? Like we're all on the same page. We all believe the same thing. That is actually not true, and that's why we call it the Big Tent Party. Okay, so I'm going to give you just like a quick rundown of how the party actually works, since some of you are so freaking confused that you don't know how it works. All right. So the Democratic Party is like a huge conglomerate. First of all, let me start with this, because I've said it many times, but a lot of you don't listen. Participating in a party is your right to assembly. Okay, this is your political free speech. This is you exerting your First Amendment free speech to get together, coordinate your efforts, and organize to accomplish things. Okay, that's what parties are. That's what the GOP is. That's what the Democratic Party is. That's what all the parties are. Is that you have decided that you are going to team up with other people to get things accomplished. I don't know why this is so confusing for some of you, other than a lot of you, I think, are just so ideological that you don't see what's in front of you. And so you don't know how to act. And I think that you have good intentions and you probably really do want to get things done, but you just don't know how to do it. And you're so stubborn in your belief system that you don't realize that there is this entire organizing body that we could totally take over. We could totally take this over. But you have to get past all of the bullshit that you read on social media. Okay. All right. So let's do this. So the Democratic Party kind of, it looks a bit like a conglomerate, right? So the organization at the top is the DNC. And that's the one that the Dem exit duopoly enthusiasts like to demonize the most, right? Is the and I think you know where I think a lot of this bitterness comes from is that they're expecting that the Democratic Party is going to be somehow the working class party, and that's what it should be. It absolutely should be, and we can make it that. But you have to realize that who controls the party today is largely dependent on whether or not you participate. Very dependent on whether you actually participate. So anyway, the Democratic Party looks like a conglomerate. At the top is the DNC. I think that stands for Democratic National Committee. And they're basically in charge of the umbrella platform for the party, for the national party, and for supporting our presidential runs. Right? So that's their 4-year cycle, is supporting the presidential run and party platform stuff, things of that nature. And that's what they raise money for. There are a couple other federal things that are going on. And excuse me for those of you who have been doing this way longer than me, excuse me if I leave things out because I'm still learning myself. It is a very complicated thing for people to learn. And that's why it's so easy to demonize and create conspiracy theories about, because it's so freaking complicated. All right, so the next level would be like the federal level, right? So you've got the DCCC, which is the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee or something like that, and the DSCC, which is the Senate version of that, the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee, I think. And so each one of those bodies end up supporting the Senate races and the congressional races. Now, those top 3 organizations have vendors lists. I don't know how you get on the vendors list. I really wish I did. I really wish I did know how to get on the vendors list, because I would love to be on that vendors list. I would love to be on the vendors list, but that actually came into question a couple years ago I think it was when they tried to lay down some new rule that if you challenge another Democrat, you'll get thrown off the vendors list. That was a thing. That was a thing because they were scared of the progressives who were entering the party, and they didn't want. They did not want their vendors. They wanted there to be some penalties if their vendors did business with any of these challenger opponents. They wanted to be able to like throw you off the vendors list, except when it came to that Kennedy kid who was challenging, was it Merkley or who was the senator? He was an incumbent senator who was more progressive. And so Kennedy was going to run against him. So they make exceptions when it suits their needs, right? But that, again, that falls to who gets into these organizations and gains control of these organizations. These are organizing tools. And so it's all about representation and control, just like your government is. Just like government, just like Congress, everything else. It's all about representation and control. And just as a reminder, we live in a republic, not a full-blown democracy. And that's actually how the parties work, too. It's more like a republic, not a democracy, okay? All right, so let's get down a little further. So then you've got the state level, right? So every state, all of the states have a party. I live in California. So the California Democratic State Party is one of the largest, if not the largest state party in the country. And so our leadership elections get highly contested. Our ADEM elections get highly contested. So what makes up the party? The party is made up by 3 legs of the stool, okay? One of those legs is appointed, it's PLEOs, basically, which are public leaders, like elected officials. Okay, no, I'm sorry, party leaders and elected officials. Party leaders are like people who lead the county parties. So we're going to go down a little further, right? So party leaders and elected officials are automatically delegates to the state party. They also, especially, well, I think the elected officials, I don't know about the party leaders, but the elected officials also get to select appointments and have additional representatives. So, for instance, Nancy Pelosi, because she is Speaker of the House, and she's a congressional rep in, like, the San Francisco area, she gets something like 60 appointed delegates to the state party. I think it's the state party. Might be the DNC. Might be both, y'all. Because they also get, like, representation at the DNC and some of these other organizations, too. And each one of these state parties also gets to elect at-large members to the DNC as well. So this is all of your Republic representation within the party. So it's way more complicated than you think it is. And it's all about winning seats. All right, so anyway, each county party... every county has its own Democratic Party representation as well. And they are allowed to have a certain amount of central committee members that are they actually run on the ballot, assuming there's enough people where it's an actual contest. If there's not enough people who sign up, then whoever signs up just gets in. And that has happened. Okay, but if there's an actual challenge, it will go on your primary ballot. And then the Democrats in your district actually vote for that representation. Okay? So the central committees also are given a certain amount of delegates to the state party. In Orange County, it turns out that we actually get more appointments to the state party than we actually have central committee members. And not everybody always wants to go. So what ends up happening is that whatever leftover appointments we have will generally be, there will be like a runoff election amongst their alternates. Because each member of Central Committee is allowed to select an alternate to represent them if they have an absence. Okay, so there's that too. And all of the alternates are allowed to attend. And we all, there's even observers. Like, I go as an observer now. You can have sidebar conversations with people. You can lobby people all the time. You can try and change their minds about certain issues. You can participate in subcommittees. Certain subcommittees you actually have to be a member to the party or like a central committee member to the party, or you have to be an alternate to actually participate in certain subcommittees. But there are other ones where you just need to be a registered Democrat and you just need to like raise your hand and be like, I volunteer. There are so many ways that you can influence people. So many ways. Okay, so when you go a step further than that, and now we're talking caucuses and clubs. Caucuses are at the state level. That is people within not only the delegates who actually represent at the state level, but also anybody who's a registered Democrat. You can be a member of a caucus. And the caucuses are a state level organizing body. So for instance, there's the Progressive Caucus, there's the Children's Caucus, there's the Women's Caucus, there's the Seniors Caucus, there's like a Climate Caucus, there's the Business Caucus, there's Black Caucus, there's I think an Asian Caucus. There are caucuses for several different issue areas. And that's when people get together and talk about what matters to that particular community of people. Okay? So there's the caucuses. And when you get even more local than that, there are Democratic clubs. Democratic clubs, they support a very specific either regional area or an issue area for a county. So that's what the party looks like, y'all. And every one of these bodies are filled with people who live in specific areas, who are networking and doing their thing. And do moneyed interests get in? Absolutely. You know how we could prevent them from getting in? By actually goddamn participating in the party and starting voting in these elections and running our own candidates. If you guys stop this nonsense of being like, well, there's no way you can do this. If you actually got together and worked on this and said, all right, we're going to like full blown flood the party with progressives, we could actually get what we want. But we can't do that so long as you guys are just remaining completely ignorant about how the party works. I'm sorry to be harsh, but I get so frustrated. This conversation's been going on for me personally for about 4 years, and I'm so sick to death that there are so many people who don't understand math. That is how it works. It's math, y'all. If you want to control who gets nominated for endorsements, who gets nominated for the president, get involved in the party.